Good evening. We're going to call the December 7th Planning Commission, Baldwin County Planning and Zoning Commission to order. This time, if you'll stand with me, we'll have a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Father, we're thankful to you for the day and for this great place that we live. We thank you, Father, for the opportunity we have now to discuss this business before us tonight. We ask for your insight and wisdom that we conduct ourselves in a way that makes us a better place to live. Father, we're so fortunate to live in a great county. We thank you for our staff, our elected officials, our first responders, all who make it that way. And may we add to that by doing the right thing here tonight. Thank you so much for all that you do for us. We pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time we'll do the roll call. Brandon Bias. Here. Robert Davis. Here. Plummer Tonsmeyer. Here. Jason Padgett. Michael Mullick. Here. Greg Seibert. Here. Bill Booyer. Here. Jamie Stradiger. Here. Mike McKenzie. Glenn Seal. Here. Diane Burnett. Here. Michael Fletcher. Here. And Danny Bolton. All right, we definitely have a quorum. At this time, we will, I'll have a motion in regards to our minutes. Everybody should have had a chance to look at those by now. So we have our work session minutes and our regular meeting minutes for November the 2nd. And so I'll have a motion, if you're all agreeable to that, for both of these to be approved.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes from both the work session and the regular November meeting of the Planning Commission.
Okay, Bill Booyer made the motion to approve, and Danny Bolton second. Any questions, comments on the minutes? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. All right, real quickly, just to give you a little bit of order of business, how we'll conduct this meeting tonight. We are going to make a little change. You'll see that as we get into the meeting. But just general notes here. As we open the public hearings, we'll allow our staff to make a presentation. We, the Planning Commission, will be able to ask them questions. We will then allow the applicant to come up. The applicant and all other folks that have signed up will come to the center podium here and address the Planning Commission. If you have any questions, please ask us, and then we'll get the answer for you. Hopefully you have signed up out front if you want to speak, and we really encourage you, if you're even sitting here right now and you want to speak, please go back out and sign up. It'll make it a lot easier because once I go through it, it all comes here to me, and I'll call your name at that appropriate time. But after that, if you haven't signed up, you won't have an opportunity. I won't call for anybody else. And we'll reach a point also, I'll close the public hearing. When I do, the public hearing is closed. You won't be able to speak after that. We'll have opportunity then to discuss, make motions one way or the other, and then vote. We would ask you to turn off the cell phone, of course. That would help us for keeping interruptions down. And also, once your item has been addressed, if you do want to talk with folks, if you would just step out into the back there, it would help us so that we can go on to the next item and help us move through the meeting. We have 18 items or so on the agenda tonight, so it's quite a few items. So we have a lot to deal with. So with that, unless I've left out something, we're going to move and change the agenda right off from the beginning. We have an item, and that is, let me move to it, case number SC 23-43 and SV 23-13. which is Lilac Lane subdivision. They've made a request to withdraw. So we're going to move that up at this point and go ahead and deal with this item.
Yes, Commissioners, I can open up the PowerPoint if you wishes, but the applicant is here and requesting the application for the subdivision and the variance to be withdrawn.
Okay. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to withdraw this case.
Okay.
Seconded.
All right, so Brandon has made the motion and Greg has seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that item is withdrawn. Another change in our agenda we're going to do tonight, first time we're doing this, we have several items that the best that we can tell from going through our agenda, these are items that are extensions and or items that seem to have possibly no public input on. So we're going to do what's called a consent agenda here. We're going to group about 6 of these items, and we're just going to put them out for public hearing real quick. If there is no one, and I'll ask, but if there's no one to speak on it, then we may end up just approving all 6 of these because we've already reviewed them in work session, and that'll allow us to go ahead and deal with those instead of dealing with them one at a time. So, first time we're going to do that, we'll see how that works tonight. So, the 6 items, I'm going to read them out, and I'll give the names of them, so please listen in case you are hearing one of those items and you do want to speak. I'm not going to deny you that right to speak. I'll need to know. First item is case number PER 23-24, which is the Glass Road RV Park extension. The second one is case number PER 23-32, which is the Salty Stay RV Park extension. The next 4 are in our subdivision cases. The first one is case number SC 23-47, Pine Grove Terrace. The next one is case number SC 23-49, Macarius, and I may not have pronounced that right, Place. And then case number SC 23-54, which is a subdivision of Parcel C. And the final one is case number SC 23-55, Burnt Pine Subdivision. So I'm going to officially open the public hearing on all those cases. And at this time, I'm just going to ask, is there anybody here, did we have anybody?
So we do have about 4 folks signed up to speak, but they are all either the property owner or the authorized agent, and they're all either marked support or neutral. So there's no reason for them to come up unless something they feel like they need to say.
Yeah, just for those of you that did sign up that are representing these, we talked about these in work session if you weren't here, meaning that we've looked over those and we see no issues with those. So out of those that signed up for those items, is there anybody, any of those that signed up that needed to speak? Okay. All right. We good? All right, with that, then I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve.
Well, let's just close the public hearing.
Oh, yeah. All right, I'll close the public hearing. So at this point, then we'll, do I need to read those cases again or just?
It might be a good idea just out of, just at least the agenda bullet number.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion for approving case, let's see, will be items 7A, 7B, 9C, 9D, 9G, and 9H.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
I'll second.
Greg has made a motion. We approve those. Bill has seconded that motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, those items are approved. All right, so now we'll go back to our agenda, back in the order that they're printed. So we'll go now to case number SPP 23-22, Darby Ridge subdivision. I'm going to open the public hearing on this. And I will go ahead and do what I've been doing and just ask straight on all items. Does anyone need to clear any prior communication on any item we have on the agenda? I'll mark it down and bring it up when it comes up. But anybody? Okay.
All right, this is a preliminary plat request for Darby Ridge 78 lot subdivision. This is in Planning District 7. It is unzoned. So this shows the location, and here's a close-up of the plat. And you can see this is adjacent to the Spanish Fort city limits, but it is not in the city limits, and Spanish Fort has withdrawn their subdivision regulation areas to the corporate limits. So this is entirely in the county for review. The drainage report has been reviewed by the Highway Department, and it will be further reviewed during construction plan review. This just shows the drainage basins before and after. There are several ponds that will be installed. Traffic study has been approved, or reviewed and approved by the Highway Department, and they had an acceptable growth rate. They had traffic studies, at least one of which was not in the summer. It was during a school day. Site distance and the entrance issues, there is one entrance, but they have expanded to be a boulevard entrance, so there are 2 lanes with an island in the middle that's a little difficult to see. As you can see, this is a fairly windy road, and there's some definite topography here, and so there are some conflicting numbers for site distance. The Highway Department measured and came up with one set of distances, and the engineer has another set. That will also be further reviewed during construction plan reviews. They will have to meet the requirements and do whatever improvements are needed to do that. Utilities have been provided for. North Baldwin Utilities, they will need to relocate a pressure restriction valve at the developer's expense to improve fire flow, and that brings us to the fire protection issue. Again, it is not in Spanish Fort's city limits. Spanish Fort requires 2 entrances, but Baldwin County does not. There was some opposition expressed by the fire inspector for Spanish Fort's fire district, and we have noted those objections here. And again, to show the fire flow results, they are very low below the pressure reducing valve and higher above it. And so in order for the final plat to be approved, the fire flow will have to be, will have to meet the ISO requirements. Another thing that has been done by the applicant, they have increased the distance between the buildings from the standard requirement of 10 feet to 11 feet. That provides 22 feet between each house. If you look down here, that is adequate for a flow rate of 750 gallons per minute. And again, this is something they'll have to demonstrate at final plat for final plat approval. Wetland boundaries are shown. We reached out to the school system on September 22nd, and they did not respond or did not express opposition. There are several conditions. The applicant will have to dedicate an additional 40 feet of right-of-way along Doleave Road at the entrance. The proposed entrance shall meet site distance requirements of the subdivision regulations, and the development shall meet ISO requirements for flow rates and house spacing at the time of final plat. And then the general conditions are things that we apply to all subdivisions plats. Any questions?
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay. All right, no questions for staff, then I'll, let's see. Dwayne Smith, I think you represent this. Do you want to?
Good afternoon, Dwayne Smith, engineer and developer on this one. Basically, we've worked with staff with all the requirements, and as far as we know, every requirement for subdivision regulations have been met. We do understand that the pressure reducing valve will have to be relocated. That's not unusual. That's not anything crazy. Development's more than willing to relocate that. We understand that we have to meet the fire flow to get final plat. So there's a lot of money at stake here with regard to cost of construction. We're not going to do this in a way that we don't meet the fire flow. It'll happen. As for the site distance, we surveyed it. I understand Highway measured it off one method or another. That'll be worked out during construction plans. That's not a big issue. So in general, I mean, basically we feel like we've done everything we need to meet Baldwin County regulations, and we would like to request approval.
Okay, any questions for the applicant's representative?
And you do intend to widen the road in that particular area, or for how much distance?
The road is already meets
It's the
it meets
right of
Baldwin County
way.
standards.
Applicant, according to what we received, applicant will dedicate an additional 40 feet of
Oh, my
right-of-way.
apologies, I misunderstood your question.
Yeah.
Right away, we have no problem giving the county whatever right of way
Okay,
they want.
thank you.
Well, we have no issue with any of the conditions.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, sir. All right, we have quite a few signed up in opposition, so I'm just going to call on you to come up, and I didn't say this at the beginning, but you will be on a clock. We'll have 3 minutes. You'll hear a buzzer go off, so we just ask you respect that since we have so many here. 3 minutes. So Scott Anderson.
Good evening. I am Scott Anderson. I live adjacent to the proposed entrance of Darby Ridge at 9051 D'Olive Road. The pictures you have just seen don't do justice to the dangers of D'Olive Road. Going from 20 homes to 98 homes with no road improvements is poor vision for Baldwin County and a danger to public safety. To reach the proposed site, you must first drive through the drop-off area for Spanish Fort Middle School, then continue 1.3 miles down a winding, narrow road with 10 sharp left turns and right turns. That is a sharp turn every 1/10 of a mile. Before voting, I challenge each one of you to go to D'Olive Road and drive the route. Try to keep your car from crossing the double yellow lines or from running off the edge. Now add heavy construction traffic to rip out 40 acres of pine trees, lay utilities, and build 70 homes. D'Olive Road will become a public safety issue. It is unfortunate that we are even here tonight. This proposed subdivision was under the jurisdiction of the City of Spanish Fort until July of this year. The city did not approve this project due to its size, fire safety, evacuation safety, and school safety. The city wanted this project reduced to a maximum of 30 homes or add a second exit for evacuation and fire safety. If you look at the map, Spanish Fort's future planned residential development is where new roads and infrastructure can accommodate a north entrance and a safer road to this plan. The county subdivision requirement is less strict than Spanish Fort. However, the county regulation, section 10.1, state that in the event of a more strict provision, the high standard shall control your decision. A higher standard was given by the city in July. I have 3 requests of the board tonight. Number 1, go out there and drive D'Olive so you can see how dangerous the road is and this plan is, and take a tape measure because most of D'Olive Road is only 20 feet wide from grass to grass, not 22 feet as everyone keeps saying. I've measured it in front of my house 100 times. Number 2, I request that you require the developer provide a safer second entrance and road to the north where the City of Spanish Fort wants residential development. And 3, I respectfully ask that you delay your vote tonight pursuant to Regulation Section 4.1.1E of your subdivision regulations, which state there shall be a recommendation of approval or denial to this commission. Nowhere does it allow for a neutral recommendation in the regulations. The court has said to follow the regulations, all of us. You must send this back for review with recommendations from today and then set a future date with notice for approval or denial. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, Todd Eisenberg? I hope one of those was right.
Yes, sir. It's fine. You can call me anything. Todd Eisenberg. I'm actually at the southeast corner of that property. I own 12 acres there, but my main concern is for the public safety. I travel that road all the time, and I personally have dug out of the ditch 2 trucks, and I have personally watched a truck flip over right there at those corners. And there's kids on golf carts that drive up and down that road. There are no sidewalks. People walk up and down that road, and it is just one big hazard for anybody. I myself have pulled out of my residence and watched a golf cart fly by and 5 kids on a bike teaching my daughter how to drive. And she slammed on her brakes, and public safety is a concern with the middle school right there. Kids can't even walk home without it being a concern. And don't get me into the driving capabilities on there, because UPS, FedEx, the school buses themselves, everybody speeds on that road. It is like an Indy 500 when you come across my property. Everybody speeds, motorcycles included. I've addressed that with the county Department of Highway to reduce the speed limits, to address it, and they told me no each time, that the speed limits are set. That's all I have.
Okay.
It's just a public safety concern.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Laura Eisenberg?
Hi, I'm Laura Eisenberg, and I'm concerned about the safety as well, especially up at the school. I mean, the middle school's there, it's already insanity. I have waited 20 minutes to go around from Jimmy Faulkner to get home because there's so many cars. And then there's kids out there as well. And then once you get through the school traffic, cars are flying. I've personally seen 2 vehicles. I mean, where the road is windy, it is very steep. Like, cars go off of it and go down and have to be hauled out. It's not like they just go off the road. It's a drop-off on one side. And to add, 70-something homes, that's another 150 cars. That's an incredible amount of cars. And then also, on our property, we have the wedding venue, and that's another, 150 cars sometimes on the weekends to add to that. So it's not just the people that live there, it's also from the venue and all the cars there. So I really am concerned about people walking on that road, people are riding their bikes on that road, and there's just grass, there's no sidewalks. I'm definitely concerned for the safety.
Okay.
So that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, at this point, I'm just going to say, because all those comments are all related to safety, so we get it. So the rest that want to speak, you're welcome to come up. I'll call your name, but if it's a safety issue, just raise your hand to tell us that's what it is, and that way you don't have to take up that time. So the next one is Jeremy Gibbs. Okay, thank you. Vince Bellucci.
I've lived on Doleave Road over 20 years. Me and my wife lived there when it was a dirt road. We cleared our land ourselves, sweat and blood, okay? City's moving our way, and it's up to you guys. Are you going to approve a city in that rural part of the county? There's no infrastructure for it, none at all. The road is inadequate. There's no sewage service for the city of Spanish Fort. They do not have a sewer system. Baldwin County Sewer came down my road. Within 2 months, it already blew a valve and leaked. Okay? I have a septic system well maintained. You're going to approve 7 to 8 houses there? To do it, you'd have to put a lift station in again. There's one on Jimmy Faulkner Road. It stinks. I drive by it on a daily basis. My window down, you can smell it. So I've got skin in the game. The developer, he has none. He doesn't even own the land. He's got an option to purchase it. He'll be long gone. So those 78 lots are sold, he'll be gone. I'll still be there. I'll still be voting. And I know my county commissioner. So y'all do what y'all want to do. I don't like it.
Okay. Angela White.
I'm Angela White, as he just said, and I own all the property between those two, 31 and 24 acres on the way to the river. So of course I'm very concerned about all the runoff into the river through my property, which is 50% wetlands, and there's tons of animals and deer and everything that's going to get displaced, and not to mention all, like you said, about the sewer, all that stuff there's not adequate to get into the river. There's also so many things mentioned, like discrepancies of, I know you don't want me to mention safety, but like rules that there was supposed to be 2 entrances and they're not. So if a tornado comes, the road itself is an in and then out itself, the whole road. So not only will the neighborhood be in and out, our road will have to pass. There's no way out besides that way. So that's an issue when like they, and then the water pressure. So there's a lot of things that he's measuring, I think, because I've seen him out there, from the wrong entrance, because there's a visible, someone put up a fence and an entrance on somebody else's property that they used to go onto this property and hunt, but it was just an easier access. So the actual access to this property is kind of to the left of that where you see the curves. And even if you measured at that point, I actually went and measured it myself, and there isn't enough visibility to the right. And when they even out the road, it's going to lower. So right now it's kind of like it goes straight up. That's why everybody's going in the other entrance. It goes straight up a hill. And so when you, for a neighborhood, you're not going to have that big of an incline. They're going to lower it. So guess what? As you lower it, the house that's right there and the curb in the road and the fence, you're going to be even less visibility. There's no way, like he's like, oh, we're going to fix that. There's no way. See, this picture here to the right is actually from the other entrance, closer to that power pole where you see that steep hill right there where there's a brown. That is actually the entrance. And so I don't know who took this picture, but it's from the wrong entrance. But anyway, so there's no way to fix it. Like he's like, we're going to fix this. There isn't a way because no, you know, you can't change the topography of the land. In fact, it's going to be worse because he's lowering it. So anyways, I guess that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Harry Steele?
Good evening. So if you don't have an opportunity to go out there and drive it, Dina Haley, who lives out there and who is a resident, uploaded a video to YouTube, and that's been forwarded to your county planner. I would say that there are several different issues here, but it's kind of like I told all these people when they came to me seeking my counsel. This meeting is a formality. So long as the developer meets the requirements set out in the subdivision regulations, whether you guys like the use or intensity or any of that kind of stuff, you don't have any authority to do anything about it. I see a lot of people shaking your heads yes. And that's really unfortunate. Maybe this would be a good opportunity for Mr. Brown to talk to the residents out there about activating their planning jurisdiction. The only other thing I would say that hasn't been covered is that this is a substandard road from one end to the other. As a former county administrator, I can tell you that from personal experience. I've been from one end to the other. You drive down to the end of this road, there's not a hammerhead, there's not a cul-de-sac, there's no way to turn around an emergency vehicle without just, running off either side of the road. And just for personal knowledge, and I'm not casting any aspersions here, but where the road ends, if it were to continue, it would go on down to Judge Doleave's, I call it the Doleave compound. It's been in their family for many years. And so, our probate judge lives at the end of this road. So there are a lot of people that aren't going to be happy with y'all. I understand that you don't have much choice but to approve it. But I would encourage you to talk to Mark Ackerman. Is Mark here tonight? He's the highway engineer that I spoke to about the line of sight issue. The only other thing that I would mention, and you don't have a very good picture of it, and that gentleman was very nice. I would be raising a whole lot more cane with you than he did. The gentleman whose home is adjacent to this double boulevard entrance, I believe the edge of that road to where his pool is about from here to the wall. So if you could imagine, they're showing it to you right up there. That's his house and his swimming pool, and you're going to be coming down the hill looking over into his backyard. And, if I were him, I'd be a little more upset about it than he presented here tonight. Anyway, I know y'all are a bunch of volunteers, and I appreciate you serving our county
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dina Haley? Yep.
And we do have this loaded on the computer for you as well, if you want to put it on the screen. This is the presentation. So Buford, if you just want to put it up on the screen, and then I think that, will that suffice if they can see it?
Sure.
through the screen?
Fine, thank you. In addition to the residents' dismay with this, there's been, when the developer first came down, his comment to us was, this is the reason we put 3-acre buffers around our homes, because we didn't want anyone to come down and do this to them. Just paraphrasing it. But we wouldn't want anyone to come and do this to us, and that was insulting. Most of my concern is safety, and I won't go into that, but I live at the end of the road. It is a one-lane road. There is nowhere to turn around. Big trucks come down there for the housing that is being built there. There's been 3 or 4 houses built in the last year. There's no turnaround. We've had to sit and wait for trucks to unload bricks and grass and all of these other things. There's also tons of deer and wild game, and I ran over an alligator one day. I didn't mean to, but people get to looking at the deer and they don't pay attention to where they're going. And when she mentioned the drop-off on the side of the road, it's straight down for 20 feet. And I did mention about school buses careening down in there. That's the main issue, but it's just a disregard for the people in this neighborhood, and it's really an insult. Although we know development is coming, we thought it could have been done with a little more planning and oversight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's all that I had signed up. Is that correct?
We're going to refresh this real quick in case anybody else has signed up, just to confirm. Looks like that's it.
Okay. Let me say this. I'll cover some of these just so, and I hope you'll hear this, because this is an unzoned area. The gentleman made the statement, we don't have a lot to say about it. Well, we do. We listen to you, and we try to be sure that you get the answers that are the right answers. You may not like the answer, but it may be the answer you're just going to have to accept because that's what the regulations say. For one, we're not in an overlay district, so we're not bound to the stricter of the two. There are not 2 regulations over this site. Spanish Fort gave that up by not renewing their agreement with the county. So it is just the county over this site at this time. So anything that you heard from the city of Spanish Fort before is before. So their standards may be different from ours, but they're no longer in the picture. So just so that you know, this approval tonight does not give them permission to go to construct. They will have to deal with the site issue. If they don't meet the site distance requirement, they will not be able to do this project. They will have to do whatever our county engineering department says they have to do to make it right. It's the same goes with our, are you cutting me off now? Same thing goes with the runoff, drainage, utilities. All those things have to be approved by engineering department, and they will not start construction until they've met the county standards on that. So that may not have answered all your questions or some. Did you have anything else you want to add? Anybody have any questions for staff based on now what you've heard, Diane?
Do you know, or can the developer tell me what the distance is to the middle school, to the entrance?
1.3 miles. Okay. Because I don't have a scale on this map.
Just looking at the map, 1.3 miles seems pretty consistent with that.
Well, the only reason I'm asking is I don't know how school buses run. I don't know if there'll be a lot of children from the subdivision eventually, and what improvements would happen like sidewalks or things like that, based on the build-out of this development so close to the school?
There would be required sidewalks internally, but we don't have a provision for sidewalks along the road. It would just affect things inside the subdivision.
Okay, Bill?
I don't want to negotiate here, but would either the developer or the property, existing property owners be willing to dedicate land for an easement to at least put in sidewalks to help protect the children?
Let me just say to that, it's a great, noble thing for us to request. You know, I don't know how many of these property owners are even here today who are along the road. Obviously, we have a lot of property owners here. The developer himself only owns a small amount right along the road. So unfortunately, it'd be other people who are donating the property to help the development. So I guess it's a noble request. It's probably a little bit bigger than what's before us in this room. It's a great question otherwise, though.
I have a question. Could it be reasonable to request the developer to leave that, on mine it looks like that one lot on the cul-de-sac that could be a secondary entrance to the north? If a road ever comes through there, it's the one lot at the very top, that even if that, pulled out of this to say if there's another road that comes through from the north that we could tie into.
At this point, it doesn't look like there's another road to the north.
No, there's not a road there now, but like they said, one day it'll be more Doley Road won't be the only road around here, but there's a space in this development that would let it be tied and let out to the north.
I think
that could be a reasonable request to just leave it. You don't have to build it. There's nothing to build to. Just leave it access.
Here's how I think, if you want to make a motion along those regards, to just say, to ask staff to look at whether or not there is a reasonable possibility of some type of adjacent future development, and if so, to require a stub out for connectivity purposes and safety purposes.
And a second question that I have is, as expressed with the safety concerns, when there's no turnaround. When somebody misses the entrance to this subdivision and they're in a truck, how do they get turned around? I mean, I don't know, is this something that we need to look at? I mean, really, with some of the concerns I've heard, it makes me wonder, is this one to table? Because some of the safety concerns and whatever on Doley Road to, hey, make sure, give this 1 month to, let's make sure we're in good shape as far as county. It seems like from this Jimmy Faulkner, the school, to here, and and address the turnaround.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm going to close the public hearing.
I have a question.
Okay.
Sorry. We tabled this last month, right?
Correct.
But it was at the developer's request.
Okay. So if the commission wanted to get some more information, that's allowed? Okay.
Yeah, it would have to come through y'all, and then you need to state, if you are going to make a motion to table it, what other information you want made available at the next meeting or whenever you reset it for.
Okay. Any other questions? Still with all the questions before we make a motion. Got
Just
any others?
real quick, with regards to Mr. Mullick's request, issue regarding a turnaround, which is completely, makes complete sense. Do we even have the ability to, to say that, require somebody to put a turnaround in on a road like Jimmy Faulkner for a development like this? Because then the issue becomes where they're going to put it and how you're going to attain the right of way to do it.
Yeah, I do have actually a follow-up question for Mr. Mullick on that regard. Are you saying something in addition to the cul-de-sacs that are in the development? You were saying at the end of Doley Road itself?
Yes, I mean, this, Jimmy Faulkner Road, I mean, it looks like it kind of goes in and just it stops. Okay, so I'm in there, and let's make me in a big truck. Well, I missed the drive. Well,
Are you talking about Doley Road?
Yeah, yes, Doley. how do I get stopped? How do I get turned around? You know, it's kind of like they're saying
You drive
one
through
way
this
in or one
subdivision
way
once it's
out.
built.
I mean, we just passed the entrance to the subdivision. I mean, what do I do now? I mean, as this is a dead-end road, it seems like. Hey, just something for highway to, or us to think about or consider, and there's maybe nothing that we can do, but I think it is a concern.
Okay.
Well, and to answer the actual question that Mr. Seibert had, there is nothing we could, unless we were aware of a specific health, safety, and welfare issue regarding the turnaround at the end of Dole Road, there's nothing we could actually require as part of this approval. And I know, Mr. Mullock, you're not saying that, but just to clarify for you.
So I guess the thing is, if we table this, and please don't get me wrong, I am unhappy as I can be that we're in a position that we have to approve this because it's technically compliant. But that's an argument that we can have on another day. But if, you know, what if highway comes back and says, you know, we're pushing it off a month. If highway comes back and says we don't have to put a turnaround in, or there's room, or there's not, you know, are we simply kicking the can down the road? Now, maybe it's the right thing to do, and I'm not disagreeing with Michael that it may be, but this is, you know, this is a bad idea in this area, and there's nothing we can do about it except prolong the agony.
Yeah, if you were to request a table, it would need to be for something other than a turnaround at the end of the road merely. I don't think that rises, that specifically rises.
I don't think it's for, they're just concerns. As long as they're noted, hey, we're happy. You know, no, there's not much that we can do, but hey, through just discussion, if we get an entrance to the north and in 10 years there's a road it might connect to, it's a chance for us to see it, and hey, they might make a small change in their thing based on our concern.
And Mr. Mullock, I think you bring up a great point. I don't know that we have anything we can put on the screen easily at this point, but there's that large 20-acre parcel to the west. I can't recall how much of that is wetlands.
It's mine, and I can tell you.
Well, and I realize if the property owner is here, but you know, 15 years down the road, if someone decides to sell that property and it gets developed, it sure would be a shame if there wasn't the ability to make a connection back to the road to handle a fire safety issue at that point. Again, I don't think that's for us that we need to nail down today. So there's no reason necessarily to pull it up. You can just say, hey, listen, look to see if that's a reasonable possibility, and if so, then require a stub out, and I think that's within our authority.
Yeah, Greg, I agree with you, and I thought this is something we say every, 2 or 3 meetings, that, if this was a zoned part of the county, we would have a little bit more subjectivity here in our ability to, determine what zoning designations work and don't work. And in this case, this is probably at a density of a zoning classification that wouldn't exist in this area if zoning was in place. So, I would implore y'all that live in the area that if you have not met with Matthew and staff on zoning, it's well worth your time and investment on that conversation to kind of learn a little bit about that process and what that potentially could mean for y'all in terms of helping, long-range planning in the county.
I got something I need to say. Go ahead. I'm concerned about the safety of the kids, and I don't think it's right. I think it ought to be tabled, and because you got 78 lots, 74 lots, that's like 140 cars every day going in and out of there, twice a day, most of the time, on a 22-foot road. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, Ray Charles can see this is wrong. And that's all I got to say. They ought to table it and come back with a plan for that road to take the traffic. And if we say, I just think it's wrong to approve.
And that's fair enough. I just want to caution the Planning Commission that if you table it, just give a specific thing that you believe is deficient, so that way the developer has the opportunity to come and, try to satisfy that thing. And it needs to be something that is under our regulations, which could be that, hey, we have concerns about how many curves there are on this road, and can it really handle this increase of traffic with this alignment? And we want some evidence showing that it's not creating a health, safety, and welfare issue. You know, but it needs to be something like that if you're going to table it. And we have also seen this a lot of times where we table something and then it just gets approved in a matter of minutes down the road. So we just also want to make sure we're not tabling something, you know, in the moment when we know that it's going to be difficult to change something down the road. So I just lay all that out there. I'm not saying anybody's going the wrong way on this at all. Just making sure that however we proceed it, procedurally proper. Oh, okay. Well, now that one might have worked here. Hey, let's get them one of the, because they can't hear you online if you're not speaking into the microphone.
So yes, we do have a discrepancy in the line of sight. So right there, we have a reason to table it. And I don't know how they fix that. If they go in and have to fix the road, straighten it out. So if they're going to do that, they can straighten the rest of the road out and make it safer, sidewalks, whatever, wider, turnarounds. So I think we do have a discrepancy with the line of sight that we can table it until we get some better answers.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we've closed the public hearing, so I'll entertain a motion. And if
I'll
that's
make a
been
motion
stated,
we
if you're
table.
going to make the motion, make sure in your table, you specify specifically the information you want in return for tabling it.
I'll make a motion, we table it until they figure out how to get those people in and out of there and make it safe for the kids and the residents that are there now.
And why don't we throw in there the discrepancy, because that is a good example. I mean, that's technical, it's in
And the discrepancy.
the site distance.
Okay, Mr. Bolton made a motion that it be tabled and stated as a condition. Do I have a second?
Second.
Bill has seconded the motion.
May I say something in seconding it? I think there are a number of issues here in addition to the things that we've talked about the road that deal with health, safety, and welfare. I think that we need to give the people, both the developer and the neighborhood, a chance to see if there's not some agreeable ways to work at least some of this out before we bring it back here. And as you say, Mr. Brown, just pass it because we were able to get something talked about. Hopefully we'll find something that will maybe not satisfy everybody, but at least solve some of the problems. And I wholeheartedly agree that the children's safety is one of those things that really needs to be addressed.
Would you, you want to table it for 1 month, 2 months? The January meeting, February?
Whatever it takes to work out. If they come up with a plan by then, if not, it'll be the next February meeting.
February, is that what?
Can we add to this? Health and safety, speed limit. That be something that should be added to be looked at?
Is it a 25 mile per hour right now?
It's currently posted at 25. I think as part of, well, obviously, if this tabling goes through, there's going to be some conversations with the developer as to, you know, what types of things we might need from them. I think one of them is going to be a linear study of the road in terms of what that running speed is and what the existing volumes are, because I think the traffic study itself only looked at the intersections, which is common. And so then that will allow us to see what that running speed is and have some more information to consider. Are you asking if it's required to be wider than 22 feet? I think by county standards, Tucker, I'm going to let you chime in, but I think it's only required to probably be 18 feet or 20 feet by county standards.
Yeah, by county, I mean, it could be 18.
Can we add the discussion about the stub out as well?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to do that would be for Mr. Bolton just to accept that amendment.
Amend his motion.
I amend the motion and we put in about the stub out.
And that's internally by removing that lot, or are you talking about on Dolly Road?
I think she's talking about
Internally,
stuff out
to the north.
Gotcha.
Okay, Bill, the motion's been amended, you approve?
I'll accept that amendment.
Okay. All right, any other comments on the motion? This is a motion to table. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion's approved. Okay. All right, we'll go to our next item. Moving to our rezoning cases, which is case number Z23-38, the Curtis property. We'll open a public hearing for this item. Ms. Boykin?
All right, this is a request to rezone about 3 acres from RV2 to RV1. The property is located in Planning District 21. As stated a minute ago, it is zoned RV2. The subject property is on the north side of County Road 26 and west of Grantham Road. It's currently vacant. It consists of just a little bit over 3 acres. The proposed zoning is RV1, which is also Recreational Vehicle Park District. And the reason the applicant is asking for the RV1 is that they would like a high-density RV park. The RV2 allows 6 units per acre, and the RV1 allows 15. So it's kind of opposite of our residential zoning, just so you won't get it confused. So that's why he is asking for RV1 to have a high-density RV park. These are the factors we considered. The ones with the question marks are ones that are kind of like right on the line. It could meet or not meet. It could pretty much go any way. Here is the locator map and the site map. You can see there's some RV2 to the east. To the north is RSF1, and to the south is RA Rural Agriculture. Several of these RSF1 parcels are used as a dirt pit, and I believe the applicant might own that. He owns some of the adjacent property. Further to the west is an electrical substation. Staff analysis suggests that an argument could be reasonably made both for and against approval of this rezoning. The Planning Commission should make a recommendation based on information that we presented, what the applicant presents, and any information that is revealed during the public hearing.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
Yeah, how many did you say could be on there on the difference?
Okay, it's currently zoned RV2, which allows 6 per acre. But he's asking for RV1, which would allow 15 per acre.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I have 2 signed up. Scott Curtis.
Yeah, I'm actually the owner of the project there. I'm here just to, if you want to reference any questions to me. I will point out that unless I'm confused about, I think RV2 with the 6, we used to, when I first got this approved, you could use gravel roads with a stricter, ordinance in place and all. It's not feasible to do if I got to do a hard surface paving of that. So I only see it going to RV1, or absolutely can't put an RV park there, basically, at this point. So that's all I have to say.
Okay.
And plus, I'm here if you got any questions. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Zeke Hudson.
We will be the surveyor on the project, but I don't have anything to add unless I can help.
All right.
Thank you.
Did anybody have any questions for the applicants? All right. That's all I have signed up. I'm going to close the public hearing.
I do have one question. What is the usage factor on the RV park next door that we see in the photo to the east?
The RV park to the east is zoned RV2, which would allow 6 units per acre. I would say it was at least minimum of 3-acre parcel.
But no, I'm more curious.
Let me see.
Go ahead. I'm more curious about how much is it actually used? Is there a need for more RV space there if the other one is not, fully used or near fully used as beginning?
Here's a picture in the top right-hand corner. It says property to the east. You can see there are 2 campers on that property.
One thing I want to note, that RV park across the street is a very unique RV park. It was approved, I think, when special exceptions were still the case, and these,
Yes.
they didn't, I don't know that it even came in front of y'all. It was prior to our current regime of approvals. I think it's only approved for like 6 spaces right now. So it's not a normal RV park. I don't know how else to say that.
Okay, any other questions? Ms. Boyd, can you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay. Nothing else, I'll close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move.
But before I say, this will be a recommendation to the county commission.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we recommend to the county commission denial of this change in zoning.
Okay. Bill has made a motion to deny, make a recommendation for denial. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jamie, second the motion. Any questions, comments on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, have one, so the motion carries for the recommendation of denial to the county commission. All right, open the public hearing now for our case, for our next item, case number Z23-40, McKenna property. Ms. Rhodes?
All right, this is a Z2340, a rezone request for McKenna property. The request is to rezone approximately 18.39 acres from RA to RSFE. The subject properties are located in Planning District 32. They're located north of Lederman Road and west of County Road 97 in the Alberta area. The current uses of the properties is vacant. The applicant is Chris Lieb from Lieb Engineering, and the owner is Christopher McKenna. The proposed zoning is to RSFE, Residential Single Family Estate District, and the applicant would like to rezone for residential use of the property. Staff believes all the rezoning factors have been met. Here's the locator map and the site map. The subject properties are zoned by RA, Rural Agricultural District, and the adjacent land uses are vacant or residential. Here's a close-up view of the locator map as well as the subject properties. There was no one signed up in support or opposition for this case, and staff's recommendation is approval.
All right, since we had no one signed up, I'll close the public hearing. Anyone have any questions for staff at this point?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval for Z23-40, the McKenna property.
Okay, Mr. Mullick has made a motion to approve, to make a recommendation to county commission to approve, and Mr. Tonsmeyer seconded it. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Go to the next item and open the public hearing now for case number Z23-41, Faulkner property.
All right, so this is ZB 2341 Faulkner property. They are requesting to rezone 1.07 acres from B2 to RSF2. And this property is along State Highway 180 on the north side in the Fort Morgan area, and they're requesting this rezoning to be able to build a single-family dwelling, which is not allowed in B2. So these are the factors that we considered in rezoning, and staff feels like this meets all the criteria. Here are the locator and site maps. As you can see, some of the surrounding zonings are B2, but to the best of my knowledge, none of them are actually being used for a commercial use. There's a bunch of residential in the area, and many of these properties have actually requested to rezone, as you can see on that map, and y'all recently did approve one just to the south of that property too. But other than that, the staff is recommending approval of this rezoning for y'all to recommend approval to the County Commission.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay. Maria Frost, did you want to speak?
I'm just here making questions.
Okay, she's in support of the project, so does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. All right. Anybody have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. I'll close the public hearing first.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval to the County Commission.
Okay.
A second.
We have a motion to recommend approval to County Commissioners by Brandon and seconded by Danny. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. We'll open the public hearing now for case number Z23-42, the Delaney property. Ms. Boykin?
This is a request to rezone 2 acres from RA to B2. The property is located in Planning District 37, currently zoned RA, Rural Agriculture. It is located on the north side of State Highway 104 and east of 181. It is currently vacant. It consists of 2 acres, and the applicant is asking for B2 neighborhood business zoning in order to do a commercial use. They had met most of our factors that we consider. Here you can see to the northwest and east, the properties are zoned RA. To the south, there is some B2 zoning, which I believe is Three Circles Church. Further to the west is some B1 and B3, and then to the east is some RSFE. Staff didn't see any issues with this request and recommended approval.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, for the record on this one, this is the case where we understand we may have accidentally sent notice of this one to the city of Daphne instead of the city of Fairhope. I did speak with the planning director of Fairhope very briefly. It would be wrong for me to say they're okay with this in any way. They just haven't had time to really review it. They saw it for the first time today. I did tell them that they have 6 more weeks and that essentially I would recommend, if y'all were to recommend approval, that you would just recommend approval with the caveat that you did not have any input from the city of Fairhope, and so you just understood you were approving it without that input, or recommending that approval. And he also felt comfortable, or felt some comfort, knowing that any future site plan at this location would be another public hearing almost certainly down the road as well.
Okay. Were there any questions for staff? Okay. I have 2 signed up, one in support, Garrett Baker. Okay, do you need to speak, say anything? No, sir, just answering the question. Okay. Hang on. All right, in opposition, I got Ruth Miller. Ms. Miller, did you want to speak? No? Okay. All right, that's all I had signed up. I'll close the public hearing. Anybody have any questions for staff or comments? All right. If not, I'll entertain a motion. This will be a recommendation to the county commission.
Make a motion to approve based on city not being aware of the traffic. I think that covers it.
Is that Mr. Tonsmeyer?
Yep.
All right, thank you, sir.
Second.
He made a motion to approve, a recommendation for approval. Bill, was that you? Bill seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have one more zoning case. Let's do that, and then we'll take a break, if everybody's okay with that. All right, we'll open public hearing now for case number Z23-44, the Brookins property.
This is a request to rezone 9.4 acres from RA to RSF1. It is located in Planning District 12 on the corner of County Road 68 and Thompson Hall Road. The current use is vacant, and the request is the applicant would like to develop a 4-lot single-family subdivision. They did meet all of the factors that we look at for staff. I apologize for any confusion about the X's. Like, for instance, for number 5, where it says adverse effect to traffic, I said there would not be an adverse effect to traffic. They did meet all the factors. Here's our locator map and our site map. Most of the adjacent land uses are residential, and we do have some RSF-E and RSF-3 zoning to the north, and some RSF-1 adjacent as well. And staff is recommending approval.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for staff? Okay. I have one signed up, Adolph Brookins. Did you need to speak?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Recommendation to the county commission.
I make a motion, we accept this to the county commissioner for
All right.
the bid,
Danny makes a motion that we recommend to the county commission for approval. Do you have a second? Glenn? Okay. Any questions, comments on the motion?
I have a question regarding the Thompson Farm Road and the comment made by Sean about improvements that need to be made there. Should we add that as a condition to the recommendation approval?
Can you state your question a little more specifically, Sean?
Yeah, I think she was saying that because this is the rezoning, I guess they will do that at the subdivision.
Yeah.
Because they'll come back for subdivision next, I'm assuming.
So it doesn't need to be noted on this part? Okay, but it doesn't need to be not noted? Okay.
Okay, any other questions, comments on the motion? We have a motion and a second to recommend approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Are you ready for a break? All right, I see a couple of nods. We'll take about a 5 to 10 minute break. And we'll come back. PUD 23-17, the Farm East RV Park. Ms. Mitchell?
Right, so this is a 94-unit RV park, and this is basically the third phase of a previous or an existing park. So this is down in the Gulf Shores area, but in county. This is unzoned. This shows, so you can see the adjacent earlier phases here. This is County Road 6, it curves around. And here you can see the layout. There are 2 proposed ponds. And you can see a large chunk of it is in the flood zone. And I asked them to add a note that's from the Baldwin County Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance. And this, even though it is unzoned, according to the flood ordinance, the sites must be on the site for fewer than 180 consecutive days, fully licensed, ready for highway use, et cetera. So this note has been added to the plat. This shows the amenities. Required parking, they meet the requirements. Traffic study's been done with a growth rate of 3.9%, and there are quite a few requirements. They have to add a left turn lane on County Road 6. They have to widen County Road 6. This was not required for the first 2 phases, but it is now 24 feet for 300 feet in each direction. And the City of Gulf Shores is requiring a contribution to put toward the County Road 6 Highway 59 intersection project, and they don't know what that contribution will be yet, but that is to be worked out with the City of Gulf Shores. And this shows the intersections that were studied with the red circles. And again, so here are the conditions that I just mentioned: the left turn lane, the road widening, and the financial contribution to Gulf Shores. Any other questions?
Any questions for staff?
Yeah, Sean,
What is the mechanism to enforce this 180 days quick connect because of the flood zone?
That's an excellent question. Okay, get the flood hazard coordinator involved.
Yeah, I mean, the practical answer is unless someone reports to us that there's a potential violation there, we won't know. So that's.
But if you were to go in there and see that they've built decks on and they
That's
have, things like that would be obvious, and we would have recourse in that case to say, this looks like a permanent structure and you can't do that.
Well, what concerns me would be more if we had a storm come through and somebody doesn't have a quick connect or doesn't have the ability to get their vehicle on the road and is stuck there through the, do we have any liability in that case?
I'm not concerned about the county having liability. I mean, the standard applies to the owner and the applicant, not to the county. And we're making them extra aware of it by making them put it on their site plan. So if anything, and maybe that being on their site plan will give that RVer a little more bite if they do allow them to violate it.
Does the note apply only to the sites in the flood zone?
I would think so, because I think it's specific to the flood ordinance. So it would affect these sites that are shown in the pink area here.
I would personally rather see us number the sites in the note. I mean,
Okay.
there's some sites that barely have a part of the zone in, and so if we're saying that even if it touches that flood zone is required, then let's remove any doubt and let's number the sites in the note that this applies to.
And my recommendation here is we see what the applicant says. I think this is going to be a pretty nice RV park, and they're probably not going to allow people to stay there for more than 180 days. And they may confirm that, and they might not have a problem with it applying to every site.
All right, any other questions for staff? Okay. Everybody signed up except for one in support, Aaron Collins.
How you guys doing? Aaron Collins, SE Civil. I think we got a pretty good product here. And also, we don't have any issues numbering the sites that are excluded. You know, it's not a problem. You know, and everything else, all the turning lanes, the road widening, we're doing everything that's required of us, so, if you have any other questions.
Yeah, I got one. There's a note in our, and everybody knows me as a dumpster guy, I guess, because I'm the one that's always bringing it up, but I noticed there's none shown on the site. Is there a reason?
Yes, sir. They do mass collection, and then the current site where the dumpster is, the dumpster location, we have the ability to put more.
So it'll all be there?
That's right. They do, the tenants, or the renters, they put their trash by the street every day, and they come by and pick up everything.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't going to be a new one plugged in right down there next to the subdivision that's been put in to the east.
No, sir.
Just for documentation, would it be worth adding that note
Well, I just,
in case there's a future sale of this parcel, for
that's what
example?
started all this. We started having dumpsters being placed next to developments that were already there, and it just didn't seem right for them to have to deal with that. So I'm fine if it's going to be somewhere else. What about the future amenity building? As this says, it's future, in this sense, it's a planned unit development. When do they plan to actually do that? I mean,
During the construction of the
they're going to do it while it's under construction?
Yes, sir.
All right. That's my question. Anybody else have a question? All right. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, guys.
Jonathan McGee? Okay. David Milstead?
Yeah, I'm David Milstead. Me and my wife owned the property. We had bought it this year, north of where they want to put in. And I'm not against the project. They've got a great-looking park there. I don't need any more water on what we have. I'd like to know how the drainage was going to go off the property and how far a setback it would be from our property. Just trying to protect what we got. But I'm not against it. They got a great-looking park there, and if they continue on, I feel like they'll do good. But I am concerned about a setback. If it's are they going to clear the land all the way to my property, or and
Okay.
which way the water would go?
All right. Ms. Mitchell, can you add to
The
any of that?
Yeah, it is a required 30-foot perimeter setback.
So there'll be no clearing in that 30-foot?
Not necessarily, that's just a building setback. And I know all of this is the wetlands, there'll be no clearing in there. So this portion you see along the northeast side, you want to finish that?
That's correct. So basically, all that stuff is hatched right there.
That's right.
We're not touching any of
Okay,
that.
okay.
So
All right.
30-foot buffer, it's going to be a lot more than that.
Okay, so it'll be like some trees, bush, or something between
Whatever's
us?
there right
Okay,
now. Yes,
okay.
sir.
Well, the site itself looked good on the rest of it, and maybe. Oh, it looks good. Like I said, I've been in the park. I hadn't stayed there, but it all looks good. I've been through it several times. It's clean, neat, so no problem there. I was just wondering about runoff and the setback land.
Okay.
That's all I was wondering about.
All right. Thank you, sir.
right.
Aaron, do you want to speak to the runoff as to how you're handling that? I know that.
Yes, sir. I got the engineer of record here if he wants to discuss.
Okay.
Come up.
Is that David?
Good evening. David Lavery, I'm the engineer. As you can see up there, we are decreasing the runoff and sending it to the wetlands to the north. That's kind of a standard practice, and I don't see there being any issue with us going on to the neighbor's property.
Okay. Actually, what you're saying is you're decreasing the runoff.
Yes.
Okay.
I do have a question for you. I know there are wetlands that are dry. Yes. Well, they're not always wet. How about that? Will that make that wetland area wet all the time?
No, we're not going to be constantly discharging to those wetlands.
Okay, I misunderstood what you said then. I thought you said we're going to be moving the water into the wetlands.
Our ponds will discharge to the wetlands, but only during rain events.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, that's all I had signed up to speak. I'll close the public hearing. Any other questions for staff? Ms. Mitchell, do you have anything you need to add?
I do not.
Okay. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve subject to staff conditions.
Okay. Vice has made a motion to approve. Have a second?
Second.
Michael? Okay. Any questions on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, do we want to add the note regarding numbering the sites in the flood zone? Or are we okay with they're going to do that without us having?
I think because the applicant conceded to do that, we'll consider that part of it now. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll open the public hearing now for case number SC 23-50 BFLC Thelma Burke.
Good evening. This is for SC 23-50. It's BFLC Thelma Burke subdivision. I do want to give you a little preamble of some preview discussions that the staff has had and some communications that we've had with the applicant. With first technical review comment, staff asked the applicant to show the usable area of uplands for all lots to determine if each lot had the minimum lot size of 40,000 square feet per the subregs. A minimum of 40,000 contiguous square feet of uplands is required for a standard septic system and 20,000 square feet for an engineered system. Due to utilities and zoning, the minimum lot size for this proposed subdivision is 40,000 square feet. If the lots are less than 40,000 square feet, the health department may require an engineered system. Therefore, we ask the applicant to place a note on the plat that states if any lot has less than 40,000 square feet of buildable area, the Alabama Department of Public Health may require an engineered system. The applicant also provided revisions that included this note and revised calculated uplands with more particularly the two lots that are in concern are Lot 4 and 5. Lot 4 having a 40,306 square feet of uplands, and Lot 5 having 41,706 square feet. Staff measured those lots and come up with a different area. So we reached back out to the applicant with a revised image showing the area that we considered to be the area that needed to be calculated. So they come back with Lot 4 being 20,090 square feet and Lot 5 being 20,014 square feet. And this is barely meeting that 20,000 square foot. So staff would like to have correspondence that the health department will be able to permit those lots 4 and 5 for septic prior to issuing final plat approval and authorizing the plat to be circulated for signatures. The preliminary plat approval with the conditions specified under recommendations would need to be granted in order for the applicant to install the common drives. The common drives have not been permitted yet by ALDOT, but the applicant has submitted that permit to them, so they're just waiting for that approval. So we are requesting a 5-lot subdivision. It's zoned RA. It's located on Highway 90, just east of Thelma Burke Road in the Elsinore community on the north side. There is not a traffic study required, no drainage improvements required. There are jurisdictional wetlands that have been delineated, and they are shown on the plat. There are no streets proposed. However, the common drives are required by Baldwin County subdivision regulations, and so the applicant is coordinating that ALDOT permit. This is your layout. These are your wetlands. This is the area that we had requested the applicant to review and recalculate. This is what they returned. And if you'll notice the little table there, Lot 4 and 5 are the two lots that we have a concern about, just barely meeting the 20,000 square feet. If they cannot get permitted for a septic system, then they're going to need to combine lots 4 and 5. So staff recommends that this be approved subject to compliance with Baldwin County subdivision regulations with the following conditions for approval or as otherwise determined by the Planning Commission. So we're still waiting on the ALDOT permit to be issued. Once it's issued, right now we don't know if they're going to require the common drives or not. If they do do require common drives, then we're going to reactivate case number SPP 23-23 to allow the common drives to be installed. And once they're installed and inspected and approved by Highway, then Highway will give us a letter that they've accepted them, and then we will have the applicant submit a final plat application. If they do not require common drives by ALDOT, then we'll move forward with the current case, which is SC 23-50. Excuse me. If lots 4 or 5 have less than 20,000 square foot of contiguous building area, then lots 4 and 5 shall be combined into one lot, and staff requests the Health Department issue permits for lots 4 and 5 for septic prior to issuing final plat approval and authorizing the plat to be circulated for signatures. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions for staff?
Mr. Chairman, I want to just thank Mary and Sean for their very thorough vetting of this, because it is important and it gets pretty nuanced.
This is another one of those I'm not a big fan of. I just don't like these, all the flag lots particularly. I'm not such too bad when some of these county roads were on rural areas, but on Highway 90, I think this is a bad plan. But if it meets our regulations, it meets the regulations. Any other questions, comments? All right. Kevin Swartz.
Yeah, good evening. I live on Thermal Brook Road at the very end. I just, I don't mind the 5 lots going in. I just have concerns. Are they going to be coming down Thermal Brook Road? I'm not sure if they're using it or not. That's one of my questions. And also I was concerned about people wandering onto our property if they put up a fence between our properties. And that's 2 of my main concerns.
Tell me again where your property is.
I'm at the very end of Thermal Brook Road, 3rd home down. There's 3 homes. I'm at the very end. Which I'd be right across from the properties, 1 and 2. You know, they'd be right next to our land there. You got the white building up in the top there. Thermal Brook Road runs right down this left side.
Okay.
And I'm at the very end, 1 acre lot. And I was just wondering if they're using that road or not. And if possible, they could put up a fence.
Well, the intent is for them to come out to Highway 90 through the flag lot, right? Through the flag portion?
Yes, the access drives will be on our Highway 90. They will not have any access to Thelma Burke Road.
Yeah, but lot 1, how are you going to take that from the highway? It's behind the building. See, lot 1 will be behind the building.
But they're,
Just a second.
Oh. Lot 1 will be right behind the building, so they have no access to Highway 90.
Okay, Lot 1 is actually a flag lot. It's going to run on the north side of the building, come out on the east side of the building, and
Okay.
access Highway 90.
yeah.
That's my questions I was wondering about. And what about a fence going up to keep it more private on our property, between the other property?
We don't have any requirements on that. That would be something that would be up to the applicant and the home property owner.
I figured that was a usual process that they did when they put up units, you know, lots up in the area.
This is
That's
just a
common
subdivision
practice.
request, and
Yeah.
so, to just subdivide land, that's what we're here about. So, we can't put any additional factors into it.
Okay, I'll keep a close watch on it. I'm uncertain with it, but that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Amanda? Did you? Okay. All right. So the applicant's representative is here. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions for staff? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve with conditions as presented by staff.
Okay. Got a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Greg seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. All right, then we have case number, open public hearing for case number SC 23-51, the BFLC Elam Creek West Phase 8.
Before you have a request for a 7-lot residential subdivision. It's located in Planning District 13. It is currently unzoned. Has been a request by the Baldwin County Highway Department to provide a traffic study for the cumulative effect of the current subdivisions that are located along Glen Home Road. The applicant has initiated a traffic study, which is forthcoming, so at this time, we don't have any determinations whether there be any additional improvements or if we can just plat as we've normally platted without traffic improvements. There are potential wetlands that are shown on the plat. No new streets will be required. There are 2 lots that do not meet the required site distance clearance and will require a license agreement to make necessary improvements. The lots have been shown on the plat for a common drive, and the applicant will coordinate with Baldwin County Highway to determine, once their engineer provides them a plan of improvements to be able to clear that and meet the site distance, they'll coordinate with Baldwin County Highway Department for a license agreement, get that approved, and get those improvements made. This is your site layout. Your maps. This is your drainage. The drainage pattern will remain the same after the subdivision is created. No new roads nor impervious improvements slated to be built as part of subdivision. And the drainage narrative has been reviewed and approved by Baldwin County Highway Department. Utilities. There are potential jurisdictions shown on the wetlands, as you can see on this plat, that was not delineated, so they have shown the 50-foot wetland building setback. No proposed wetlands to be filled, and the following note placed on the plat, which is the standard note that any future development would require subdivision regulations and wetland delineation. Staff recommends preliminary plat SC 23-51 be approved, subject to compliance with subregs and with the following conditions for approval or as otherwise determined by the Planning Commission. Cut me off. Condition 1, traffic study's been requested and will be reviewed by Baldwin County Highway Department, and any conditions that are set forth within that traffic study will be implemented either with no request for recommendation for improvements, or if improvements are required, then they'll be required to submit a construction plan to Highway for them to review. Any improvement, excuse me, I'm sorry, I just jumped through that second. A revised plat showing the locations of drives that do not meet site distance requirements shall be submitted to, reviewed, and accepted by Baldwin County Highway Department and Planning and Zoning staff, preferably prior to the Planning Commission meeting. They have submitted the plat showing the locations of the lots. The engineer has not yet provided a plan of action for meeting the required site distance, so we're still waiting on that. And then they'll have to submit the license agreement. And then Baldwin County Highway Department shall provide Planning and Zoning staff acknowledgement the above has been completed before Planning and Zoning staff will grant administrative final plat approval and authorization to circulate plat for signatures. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff? Okay. Amanda Wagon, do you have anything you need to add? She's representing the applicant, so she's the only one I have signed up. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Can you give us a timeline on when you may be able to provide this material that staff has requested?
The traffic study is proposed to be completed middle of January.
Speaking of microphone.
The middle of January, sorry.
Okay. And what about the plan of action on the site distance requirements?
He's actively working on that and hopes to have something before the end of December.
Okay.
I think he wants to make sure there's nothing else that needs to be included with traffic study, so he's actively talking to them as they're working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. All right, that's all I had signed up. I'm going to close the public hearing. Unless you have any questions. comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I have a question. Why did this one trigger a traffic study? Is this when we got to a magic number? Or, you know?
Typically, with a 7-lot subdivision, we would not require a traffic study. However, there are several lots that have shown up along this road that with the cumulative, it could possibly trigger some improvements.
So, Mary, in your conditions, if the traffic study came back with needed improvements, that would have to be done as contingent to the approval of this?
Correct. What they would have to do is submit a construction plan set to highway showing all those improvements. They would review it. They would do comments back and forth until they had an approved construction plan set.
Okay.
And then they would also have to have those improvements made prior to final plat approval.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mary, do you all feel like that this group of developments has been, to some degree, a workaround from the subdivision regulations by doing these in small pieces to avoid things like traffic study? I'm very pleased to see that they're doing one now that it's hit the bingo line to do that, but it just seems to me that this has been piece parted in for some reason other than just because they couldn't get it done.
I'm actually going to defer to Matthew on that one.
No, I don't really think they've gained much by doing it. In fact, in my mind, it was a much bigger hassle to have to come in front of y'all 20 different times. I mean, honestly, I don't know why they split it up like that. I mean, what a pain in the neck, and what a pain in the neck for staff. But they chose to go that route. It is a route that's allowable to them. It does mean you all have seen these cases a lot. And now they're triggering a traffic study. So I think the process has worked, even though it's been broken into 5-lot parcels, or 5-lot sections.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that on the record.
All right. No other comments? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to conditions laid out by staff.
Okay. Mr. Mullins made a motion to approve. Subject to conditions.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you was...
Danny, second the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll open the public hearing now for case number SPP 23-26, Blueberry Fields subdivision. Ms. Mitchell.
This is a request for a 58-lot subdivision. This is down in Plan District 21, and it is zoned B2 and RSF2, 36 acres, and this is the plat. And so this corner right here is commercial, and so they are creating a lot, but they're not doing anything with that at this point. So this is the focus on the residential portion of the subdivision. And so here you can see the zoning map. They submitted a drainage report, and the post-construction numbers are lower than the pre-construction numbers, and they do have one large detention pond. And they did a traffic study at the intersection of 49 and 12, where the subdivision is, and another one at 65 and 12. The growth rate used was 7.25, so the highway department approved that. And the developer will need to provide financial assistance for improvements, much like we saw at the one in Gulf Shores. All the utility letters have been provided. And the flow test results, they were 750, that is on the lower side, and so they increased the spacing between houses from 10 feet to 11, or actually did to 10.5, so it makes it 21 feet. And here you can see the wetlands, there were none. It's all identified as uplands. We contacted the schools, and they did not respond. And because it's zoned, they do need landscape buffers, and so those are along both of the roads here, and there was a request that the number of canopy and understory trees be increased. So that we added, since your agenda was created, we have asked that they increase the number of those trees in that buffer. And there's also a very small portion, the parcel that's adjacent just on the corner appears to be actively used for agriculture. So there's this one tiny spot where we have the 40-foot agricultural buffer. And basically there are trees there. There's existing vegetation, so we're requesting, I think you can see in this one. So we're just basically, they're going to leave those trees intact. So the conditions that they'll need to meet broadband, and that's a generic one for all preliminary plats, broadband and ISO requirements for final plat approval. The developer will provide financial assistance for improvements at the intersection of County Road 65 and 12, and the landscape plan will be amended to add more overstory and, I'm sorry, I should say canopy and understory trees along the length of the road buffers. Any questions?
All right, any questions for staff?
I have a question about the buffer
Yes.
that you mentioned. I see the parcel and I see it, but I don't see it on that plat.
I'm sorry, you don't see what?
The buffer, the buffer?
You mean like the existing trees?
Well,
Oh, you mean like written on the plat itself? It could be, let's see, it's this very narrow strip right here. So they have the,
okay.
so this is, the landscape plan was on a separate sheet. And so this one is a very general, that kind of hatched mark. Because it only has to be 10 feet wide. So it's not.
I thought you just said it was 30.
It's 10 feet along the roads of any major project. The 40-foot buffer is here, and that one was added after this was done. So it's on the landscape plan, but not on this. But it's just a very small, like basically a 40-square-foot thing right there, just because of this lot that is adjacent on the corner.
It's a 40 square foot.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, it's very small.
Okay.
Right. And again, that's just.
It's a little bit of an anomaly just because
Right.
it corners up against an agricultural lot.
Right, because this lot is not actively used for agriculture. This one actually has a subdivision being developed right this moment, but this one right here looked like really, they just touched by the corners, so.
I just misunderstood what you said.
Okay, right. Yes, it's 10 along the roads.
Yeah.
Sean, can you go back to the landscape plan slide? And make sure I understand this. The buffer on the south side of this property, it looks like that southeasternmost lot is almost entirely encompassed by the buffer. Is that correct?
The green is not drawn to scale. I don't know if you can, this right here, that hatched line, that's the actual buffer. So no, it would take a very small one, but that does bring up an interesting point. Let me go, because this is something we kind of went around with. There is a significant highway construction setback line that will be in their backyards. And so they did adjust it. They did move the lots up slightly so there'd be less of it. And so there is what we call a screening buffer that's required along major roads, but there's nothing, the screening buffer is 25 feet, but it does not have to be planted. It's basically just a section that says no permanent structures can be placed here. And then the 10-foot buffer is right along the road. So that green box I drew for the landscape buffer, again, is not to scale. It was such a narrow strip, it was hard to see.
Okay. I was worried we may be creating an unbuildable lot there.
Right,
based on
right.
the
So they do have a lot of setback in their yard, but it's not the entire yard.
I have another question. Then if you have a construction setback line for lot 7, 6, 5, and 4, why isn't there one on lot 1?
There is one. It's this line right here is the construction setback line. You see that dashed line?
I see it. I didn't see it.
Right, it goes across. It's shaded differently. Mm-hmm.
All right, who was it down here that had a question? Michael,
I had
go
a
ahead.
question in this, I guess, is it the southwest corner, the bottom corner, that the portion that is zone B2, almost doesn't look like it's part of the subdivision in this, but is part of this 36 acres. That's what is underneath the detention pond. Is that not, this not part of it, or is that common area, or why do the houses
So
stop
if you look,
there?
here's the zoning map, so you can see like there's a whole corner cut out that's the
Correct.
B2. And if I go back to the plat, I'll do the one with the drainage pond on it. So this is the B2 corner right
Correct.
here. So
Yeah.
the detention pond is actually, it's
So is this
created as
the-
a lot, a common area in the neighborhood.
Is this B2 portion in this subdivision, or is that not?
Yeah, this in here is created as a lot, it's like lot number 58 or
Is
59.
that to be developed as well in future? Is this part of this?
Yes.
Are there any stipulations on this?
There are a
remnant
couple,
remnant lot here?
yes, there are a couple notes on the plat that say things like, parking will be provided at the time this lot is developed, or detention will be accounted for when this lot is developed. So there are some notes in the plat itself that pertain to that lot. So it's clear from the plat notes that that one is not a residential lot, but that the others are.
My question is, why is it included in this at all?
Yeah, I think, I understand exactly what you're asking here. It is, when you're dividing land, any lot that's created is part of that subdivision. To be clear, though, it will not be part of the residential development. So it will be a standalone lot on this plat that will have no association with the surrounding residential development. It's zoned B2, so if it's ever developed, they'll have to go through a site plan process, landscape buffers, a site plan review in front of this committee that will then evaluate kind of its compatibility with that surrounding residential community. But it's already zoned that way right now, and it could be developed with a business and a residence next door right now.
And I brought this one back up so you can see, right now it's 3 lots. There's this one, and this one. And so what they wanted to do is to combine all 3 of these to create these new lots, but you can't have a remnant parcel. You can't just say, this in the corner is not, we're just ignoring it. Like, you can't do that. So what they did instead, they made that a lot with the understanding that that one is commercial and will be kind of handled in a different way.
I know this seems confusing, but it's actually just very basic. When you create subdivisions, you can exclude some from the residential part of the development, but you had to create that lot, and it has to be documented in the plat.
And I'm sure there's a note on the plat that states that that lot is, my computer at home is messed up, so I couldn't read the fine print. I'm assuming there's a note on the plat that states that that lot is zoned.
Yes. Yes, in the site data table, it has the zoning for both, and then there are notes that pertain to the
I think we ought to recommend, too, that they put that zoning on the lot. I think everything
on
that
there.
we can do to make it very evident that that lot is zoned commercial ought to be done. A small note on the plat can be overlooked, but if I were buying a lot in that subdivision, I'd want to know that that big lot right there is going to be a commercial lot.
Okay, I
And it
will
ought to
put
be,
those.
to me, it just ought to be labeled as such.
Mhm.
Just me. All right, any other questions, comments?
I got one.
Oh, Danny, go ahead.
The outline around the pond and cross there, and then you see them going to the cul-de-sac, is that sidewalks?
I'm sorry, which line?
Each one of the cul-de-sacs got a little line, and it comes out, and just like there's a walking path or something all the way around the pond.
Oh, right
goes up.
here, these
Or is that
little,
just a setback?
I know there are mail kiosks scattered throughout. So you're talking about right here where I'm circling at the end of the cul-de-sac?
Yeah, you can see the cul-de-sac, there's 2 little lines goes to the other line. I didn't know if that was sidewalks, if they had sidewalks in the subdivision.
They don't usually show, like the sidewalks are required, but they don't usually draw them on here. But
Okay.
these are mail kiosks.
Okay.
So it'll be like a little mail kiosk and a couple parking spaces. And I think there are 2 or 3 of them in the complex.
I had another question. On the roads, are these going to be dedicated to the county, or will they be maintained private?
I know normally in a typical subdivision, they are dedicated to the county, and so they're built to county standards. Really, the only time we have like routine private roads, RV parks will usually be private, but any other private road, you have to actually have county commission approval. So these will all be county maintained, and that's why they have to go through all the stuff with the highway and construction plan review.
Jamie, did you have a comment?
Yes, sorry.
Also.
Can we get a current letter from BCSS with a little bit more detail
About the treatment facility?
About the capacity that they have and what they don't have.
So, and that's not, that's not in the standard will serve letter, so it's not enough just to have a new one, you want them to provide additional?
I would like more information, detailed information like we see in the PUD under the subdivision regulations already, asking for capacity now, capacity with this 58, how are they going to handle it?
The section in Article 9 applies to the large scale, the ones that are over 1,000 acres, and so we don't usually ask for that for anything smaller than 1,000 acres, so.
Ms. Strateger, why don't you tell us why you want that?
Okay.
Is there a health, safety, and welfare?
Yeah, the BCSS Fort Morgan plant, in I think it was December of 2021, asked for a capacity increase, and they were denied that capacity increase. Currently, they're going through something with court and the city of Gulf Shores, so ADEM has still not given them their capacity increase. And I'm concerned that during peak time, they do go over capacity already. So I don't know that I feel comfortable approving anything that we don't know can be served by this particular plant. So I'd like a little bit more detail.
And so it sounds like you have health, safety, and welfare concerns about the actual capacity of the plant and its ability to serve this development.
Absolutely.
I have something to follow up that with, as we get these utility letters, you know, it'd be nice to know this sewage from this plant is going to be treated here.
Some of them say it, and on this letter it does. Usually the ones farther north in the county don't specify, but the southern ones usually do say where it'll go.
I think that would be nice to always know where this stuff is being shipped to.
Okay, I haven't even called on it. We have one person signed on. Let me make sure they have the opportunity. Andrew Hodges, do you want to speak?
I'm Andrew Hodges with Row Engineering. I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay. So are there any of these questions that you posed anybody would like to ask of him?
Do you think it'll be a problem to get a letter from BCSS?
If y'all require it, then we will get it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, Mr. Hodges? Okay, thank you, sir. All right. Any other questions?
Sean, I'm looking at the date on these letters of March of this year, so they're, approximately 9 months old almost. Would they be required to be within a certain time period?
Usually within a year, and some companies will actually say in there this is valid for 1 year, so that's our typical length of time for this.
I guess let me say it a different way. So if we approve this preliminary plat, and it comes to final plat, and 4 months from now, and it's beyond the 1 year time window on these letters, we have to get them updated.
No, because they sign the final plat. So normally there's this understanding that by the time you're at the final plat stage, that they will sign it. So I guess if you had a project that drug a long time, like they kept extending it, it probably would be wise to get an updated letter.
It'd be nice if we could put in the regulations that they have to be they have to be dated within 30 days previous of us taking action on a case, I guess. Would be nice.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I'm going to close the public hearing. That's all I had signed up. So, any more discussion? All right, then I'll entertain a motion, and if you so desire to include Jamie's request, please make sure that's part of the motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this to get an updated letter showing that that plant does have capacity to handle this.
And would you like that for January, February?
I think 30 days is enough.
I think January is probably enough.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Who seconded the motion? Michael. All right, Jamie's made a motion that we table this item. She gave her reason, and Michael has seconded the motion. Any questions or comments?
Steve, can I comment, please?
No, sir, I just closed the public hearing. Sorry. All right. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we need to do a roll call then.
Mr. Bias?
Yes.
Mr. Davis? Mr. Tonsmeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Mullick? Mr. Seibert?
Opposed?
Mr. Boer?
Yes.
Ms. Stratiger?
Yes.
Mr. Seal?
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Burnett?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
No.
Mr. Bolton?
Yes.
All right, so the motion to table is approved. All right. Go to our last item. Open the public hearing now for case number SPP 23-28, the Kickler Estates. Ms. Waters?
All right, Commissioners, for our last item on the agenda, we have a preliminary plat request for a 7-lot subdivision. The subject property is located at the intersection of Archie Road and County Road 97. It is zoned RA in Planning District 32. The largest lot's approximately 6 acres, and the smallest lot's around 5 acres. No drainage improvements were required. There are wetlands, potential wetlands on the property that were delineated. Common driveways are being required along County Road 97. Here is your preliminary plat, and I've highlighted where those common driveways are expected to be installed. In Lot 7 is being accessed through a 50-foot flag lot. Here's your aerial map. Staff is recommending approval, subject to Baldwin County subdivision regulations with the following conditions: that the applicant will coordinate with the Baldwin County Highway Department to permit, approve, and install the common driveways. And once that has been installed, inspected, and accepted, the applicant will submit a final plat application that staff will review and grant administrative approval after the common driveways are installed. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for staff?
Fabio, the two lots, Lot 1 and Lot 2, are their access going to be to the south? Is that correct?
Archie Road, yes.
Okay, just make sure I read the plat correctly.
Any other questions? All right, I have 3 folks signed up. Kathy Barnett?
I'm just here to answer any questions.
All right, Ms. Barnett's representing the applicant, so if you have any questions, if you need to call her, we will. Irene Gozad?
Hello, I'm Irene Cozad, and I live at 30372 Royal Lane, Alberta, which is an adjacent property to this 39 acres.
All right, ma'am, could you start over again?
Okay.
Speak in the microphone.
Okay, I'm short. I'm Irene Cozad, and I live at 30372 Royal Lane, Alberta, and my property is adjacent. This 39 acres is on the back side of where I live. And I have a few questions. Mostly behind my property and then this next set, there appears to be about 50 acres. I'm new at this, so if I make a mistake, forgive me. It looks like 15 maybe drainage, or 20 is easement, or whatever. That comes to 35. My concern is there possibility of a road there that would be right back behind my property and the other neighbors. Do you want my other questions?
Yes, give us both of your questions.
Are those lots going to be sold to individuals, or is there a specific builder who is going to buy those and build?
That we do not know, and we do not require that they tell
And
us.
we don't know if there's a developer.
Not that I'm aware of.
And is it possible that they would cut down all the trees that are there? I know you can't probably forecast that either. And can any of those lots be, say for example, Lot 7 has 7 acres, can that be sold again and someone divide that piece down?
Only through going through the subdivision process like they're doing tonight. They'd have to resubmit.
Actually,
Oh.
Mr. Chairman, on Lot 7, it will not be able to be further subdivided because the applicant's only proposing a 50-foot flag instead of a 60. If they had provided a 60-foot flag access, then they could come back as long as they met the minimum lot size area required for RA, which is 3 acres, and Lot 7 would cover that. They could come back and do a 2-lot subdivision on Lot 7, but since they chose to only provide a 50-foot flag access, they will not be able to further subdivide that parcel.
On any of those?
And the other lots are not allowed either because there's not
won't
enough
meet.
acreage there, unless they rezone.
That's right.
Okay. And Highway 97 over many past few years has been increasing with new homes, et cetera, and the traffic has become busier because of Highway 98. Everyone has found the back way, so they'll come down 97 and then cross back down to Archie or Lederman, hit 20, and then end up over on the Gulf Beach Expressway or 59. You know the drill, right? So it's becoming increasingly difficult to get out of 97 onto 98. That's future consideration, I guess.
Okay? Thank you, ma'am. Your
Okay.
time is up. Jim Strange? Sure makes me the bad guy to have to do that, but
Okay, I own the adjoining property to the west, and I would be concerned that Lot 7 and Lot 1 not be subdivided again.
Oh, sorry. Lot 7, because their access is only 50 feet wide, cannot be further subdivided. Even if they ask for a rezoning, Lot 7 would not be able to be re-subdivided.
And the same goes for Lot 1?
No. Lot 1, currently, they could not subdivide it because it's zoned RA, but since they have enough access where if they ask for a higher density in rezoning, like an RSF 1 or 2, they could, and if that rezoning was approved, they could further subdivide it.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to know about is building structure setback.
So the
How
minimum,
close can they build to my property line?
the minimum building setbacks for RA is 40 feet from the front and the rear and 50 feet from the side property lines.
From the west border?
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
okay. Thank you, sir.
And just to add to that, if they were to do an accessory structure, they can go as close as 5 feet off the property line, but their actual dwellings would have to be 15 feet.
Okay. All right, that's all I had signed up to speak. Yes,
Can I just answer the comments?
sure.
Kathy Barnett with Dewberry. Just for the folks that had questions, the purpose of this development was to be custom homes. There is no builder that's designed for this. The current applicant and owner of the property wanted large estate-sized lots, which you see before you here, with the intention that people would build large homes, potentially agricultural use, just exactly what's here now. Staff pointed out the 60 feet and the possibility for future subdivision, and the owner said no, with the intention and understanding that there is no further subdivision. So it was his intent to make sure that further subdivision was not authorized because his intention are large estate-sized lots. So builders, setbacks, and so I think that answers all the questions, but it.
Good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Closing the public hearing, if I hadn't already. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve subject to staff conditions.
Okay. Mr. Vice made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Greg seconded the motion. Any question or comments on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that covers all of our cases for the night. We got any new businesses listed? Do we have any?
No, sir.
Any public comments? All right. Staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Planning Commissioners. It's been a busy year, a lot of long meetings. So I want to thank you all for your hard work and your volunteer efforts. I also want to thank the Planning and Zoning team. It's been a busy year for them, and I just hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas and New Year. I do want to thank the Mobile Bay National Estuary Program. They have donated some finger foods and light refreshments for just a little end-of-the-year social for the Planning Commission. If any of you all are able to stay for a few minutes, that'll be in our main Planning and Zoning room down there, so I encourage you to stay. I appreciate Ashley Campbell and Jenny Mosley and many others who helped set all that up and arrange that, so I appreciate that. And again, thank you all, and have a great holiday.
Okay. Legal counsel.
I don't have anything other than have a great holiday, and 2024 is just as good as 2023. Today was a great meeting, so I'm glad we tried this out.
I think it worked good.
Can work with that, so that's really good. And I'll just tell you, I've really enjoyed the whole planning department and working with them throughout the time. I did a little seminar for them last week, I think it was, on short-term rentals, and I just think everyone is very insightful, and it's just a great team that has been created here.
I agree. Two things. As you all know, in the work session, we put a subcommittee together, so I would ask those of you that aren't on that, if you've got input as far as the subdivision regulations, please email me, Diane, Michael, or Jamie, and so that we can, or if you just want to send it to me, fine, I'll get it to everyone else. But if you have any, please, this is the time to pass those on so we can get those considered. And with that, Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you, staff, for what y'all do. We really appreciate it. It does make our job a lot easier for all the background work you guys do. I know it's a lot, but we appreciate it. So, January 4th, next meeting, next year. Good night. We're adjourned.